Thank you very much, everybody, for joining. We really, really do appreciate coming forward today. Now, my name is Toba Lashe for long, Toba for short, and I am the producer of the Noble Faculty podcast. I came up with this idea to celebrate women for all what they have achieved and what they do, simply because I don't think we do it enough. And I think it's good to dedicate some time to the women who we believe are doing well and to encourage other women to do so as well. So we're following the theme of International Women's Day, and we're going to be hosting this for a whole month, but I'll let Bukki talk more about that. But I can tell you that we are following the theme of choosing to challenge. And this room has been curated. The series of rooms have been curated by two of my very good friends, Yvonne Ofonagoro, who is a publicity strategist, brand builder, and super connector. And might I add, she's a certified CEO, which means Chief Encouraging Officer. And I also have my very good friend and big sister, Bukki, of the Ask Bukki fame. She is also the admin of the great Moonlighters Club. If you don't know, please check her bio. And all things project management as well. She's a co-founder and admin of those two clubs as well. So thank you very much for joining. Over to you.
Great. Yvonne, let me just quickly introduce the purpose of this, and then I'll pass it over to you for you to introduce our speakers. So thank you all for joining again. This month being the Women's Histories Month, and the theme, like Toba just mentioned, Choose to Challenge, which is an amazing thing, by the way. And because of COVID-19, many of the women, the women's celebration originally planned for 2020 were restricted. So this theme, the Valiant Women of Vote, refusing to be silenced, have been extended to 2021. This year, we're celebrating accomplishments and vital contribution of women in history, with documentaries and stories that are centered around women's experience in history. So for the next couple of days, or for the whole of the month, we have a number of sessions that we're booking, which includes today, which is Women in Mental Health and Wellness. And we hope to also celebrate the achievements of women on Monday, March the 8th, which is actually the International Women's Day. And then we also will be doing a session of Women in STEM, which is slated for March the 11th, and also Women in Business, Women in Arts, Intimacy, Sensuality, and Liberation, as well as Work-Life Balance, Women Celebrating Music, and also Men Celebrating Women. We really hope that you will join us for all these future sessions. If you'd like to be involved in any of those, please feel free to contact myself, Toba, and Yvonne. So today we are focusing on women in mental health and wellness. As you can see, we've got Olu, Ngozi, and Funke on stage. We have areas of conversation that we would like to cover. Women's experiences of mental health can include the core topics, such as women as mothers and carers, women on career ladders, gender-based violence and trauma, and multiple women's needs. So I'm going to pass it over to Yvonne to introduce our special guest, and so that we can kick this off. Thanks.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, sorry. As I said before, I'm in Northwest London, so I don't know what's happening with the reception here, but forgive me. Hi, everyone. I'm Yvonne Ofonagoro. If you can't hear me, just shout or tap twice and I'll sort out my internet. But thank you for coming today, everybody, and happy Women's Month. As Bukki said, we have the following speakers on stage to talk about women in mental health and wellness. So we have Ngozi Nwadiale. We know her as NGZ. Welcome to the stage, NGZ. We have Funke O, and we have Olu'Toks. So can you guys hear me? Can you tap if you can hear me? Can you hear me at all? Perfect. Thank you. Sorry, I'm just paranoid that this is going to shame me today. So welcome, Ngozi, welcome, Olu, and welcome, Funke. We're just going to give you about 2 minutes to just introduce yourself and let us know what you're all about. So over to you, Olu. Can you tell us what you do? And
Absolutely. Hi. Hi, Toba. Hi, the Renaissance lady. Hi, Bukki. Hi, everyone on stage and in the audience. My name is Olu, and I'm a registered nurse, but I'm also a fitness trainer. I have so much passion for helping women, stay healthy, get healthy, reach their fitness goals. So I teach group workout classes almost every day now. I used to do them every day for the longest time. I just recently cut them down, but I teach workout classes almost every day. And my goal in life is just to help every woman that I can possibly touch, to help them feel their best, to help them feel confident in the skin that they're in, to help them feel amazing in who they are, and whatever fitness goals that they have, whatever that looks like to them. It doesn't have to be skinny. It doesn't have to be any shape or form. It's just what they see as appropriate for them. My goal in life is to be able to help them reach that fitness goal and just stay healthy overall. Because one of the things that a lot of people, the misconception when people hear fitness, they automatically think weight loss, and that's not the only thing that it's about. Fitness is about just staying healthy, uh, fighting diseases, off of your body, and just living longer and looking amazing. So it's just not about weight loss. It's about everything else that comes with it. And that's my passion, is to help women reach that goal. So thanks for having me. I'm really honored to be here.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Olu. And Jizzy, you're next. Can you please tell us all about yourself?
I think Ngizi's not got the best environment to speak at the moment, so we can move on.
Okay, that's fine. Funke, can we pass it over to you?
I'm a mentor. Can you hear me?
Oh, wait,
okay. I'm a mental health registered nurse. I'm a nurse practitioner in training. Stress related. It could be family related. It could also be, a disease process that's been passed down. Take for example, schizophrenia. It's known to be passed down from generation to generation, and sometimes we go through this. We don't have the right support system. So just knowing that mental health awareness is very important for everybody. That's what drove me into this field, and it's a field where you can actually see multiple patients and just make sure that they have the right kind of treatment. I mean, it's the people call it the mind medicine. Whatever it is to make people stay stable, it's very, very important. And I'm happy that for some reason COVID happened. Unfortunately, the death toll is high, but the stress levels have increased. It will shock you with the things that people go through every day. So mental health is my passion, and I'm here to see how I can help. I mean, if it's any way I can help you, point you in the right direction, even if it's therapy, even if it's medication, we can get through this together. My name is Ngozi, and I'm done speaking. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And over to you, Funke. Can you please tell us all about yourself?
Yes. Hi, everyone. Hi, Toba and Yvonne and AB. Hi, everyone on stage and on the audience. My name is Funke Ade. I am a scientist. I am a STEM chick. I love talking about the sciences. I have over a decade and a half in that industry. Also, I am an herbalist. For my Nigerian people know, I am not a mamalawo or a babalawo. I do not do juju. When I say I am an herbalist, it just means that I am trained to use herbs to cure or to help alleviate a lot of discomfort. So with my areas of focus are women-related issues and baby care. So, if you're a mom who's just had a baby, I can make an herbal sitz bath for you to recover from your vaginal delivery. If your baby has eczema, I can do herbal preparations to help with that. And so that has been my focus. My eventual goal is to be a midwife. I'm super passionate about holistic living and wellness living from a scientific and herbal point of view. I'm happy to be here, and thank you for inviting me on stage.
Thank you so much. And just to give you a brief summary of what's going to happen, as Bukki said, we're going to have the speakers answer or just talk about their craft and answer a few questions, and then we'll open it up to the audience. We will have about 4 people on stage to talk, and then when they finish, we invite the next 4, just to keep it precise. And that's it. And thank you. And this is Yvonne, and I'm done talking.
Great. So let's start. I would like to say the main objective for this is so that we should hear women's voices to develop like a set of statements of what truly matters to women in their experience of mental health, right? So the first question I would like to ask, and I hope Yvonne will ask the second question and we'll take it in turns. So for the ladies, thank you so much for being in this space. And can I just say, if you're listening in and you are hearing anything that you would like to be repeated, or you have a question, please feel free to raise your hand and jump up on stage. Thank you so much for that. So first question, let's start with the definition.
Sorry, just one thing as well, just quickly, just to give a trigger note, a trigger warning. If you feel triggered in any way by anything that's being said, please just send us a DM and let us know how we can help. So just a trigger warning. Thank you.
That's great. That's great. Thanks, Yvonne. That's very important. So please, feel free to DM us. Thank you. So first question, let's start with the definition of what does mental health actually mean, or what doesn't it mean? If we can go around to start with that definition before we actually really start. So that's my first question. What does mental health mean? How do we define it? And what it isn't? Thanks. Whoever would like to start. Okay, we go to Olu.
Sure, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great, thank you. So for me, mental health is just, having peace from within, and just being at peace with, within the space that I'm in, being at peace with myself and with people around me. And I say this a lot because I'm, as you've heard me earlier, into fitness. And I say this all the time, that exercise is my therapy. And I mean that with every sense of, the word, because usually when I'm feeling down or when I feel, like I'm losing my mind or I'm stressed out about anything, I would go for a run or hit the gym, and 98% out of the time I come back out feeling so much better, feeling like I just walked into a therapy session and I just spoke to a therapist for an hour. I started doing that about 10 years ago. I never looked back, and I have made it a lifestyle. It's so much so now that it has become a part of me, and it's part of my routine to keep my peace and just to keep my sanity, and to make sure that, because my belief is that when you're not at peace with yourself, you project it to other people as well. So even if when you're going through stuff, you're stressed out, or you're not you're not at peace with yourself, you can project that to your children, you can project that to your husband, you can project that to your friends, to your coworkers, and they necessarily don't even have to do anything to you, but you can pass that energy onto them. One of the biggest things for me is to protect my space, and I say this to my friends all the time, like, I love my peace, I love my sanity, to protect my space, and in so doing, I'm protecting other people's space too, because when I'm at peace with myself, I can project that onto you. I can project that positive energy onto the next person that comes in contact with me. So I take very seriously. It's priority for me, which is one of the things I've found, something that works amazingly well for me: exercise. And I've incorporated it into my daily routine. It's become a lifestyle for me. And that's how that's my therapy, and that's how I keep my mental health in check. Thank you.
Thank you, Olu. Mental health is protecting peace within. Thank you so much for that. Ngozi, are you there? Are you able to? Are you there?
I
Did
am
you hear my
here. I'm
question?
sorry.
Did
I
you hear my
know.
question?
I did. I
Okay.
heard you. I'm in the clinic and it has a horrible reception. So I came out to walk, just do what Olu does when she wants to think. So I'm here outside now. But I heard the question. Mental health has to do with emotional, psychological, and social well-being. It affects, the way we think, the way we do things, the way we feel, most especially the way we respond. It's important at every stage, from childhood to adulthood, to there are many things that I can tell you that affects your mental health. And Olu said one thing that was very, very important: maintaining your peace. You want to maintain an atmosphere of peace bubble around you. Once that is altered, then there's a problem that needs to bring that equilibrium to, to life, and to give you that stability in life. So mental health, is includes your emotional, psychological, and social well-being. So all those things have to be in equilibrium for you to say your mental health is optimum. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Njeezy. So in a summary so far, Olu mentioned it's about maintaining your peace. Njeezy mentioned it's an emotional, psychological, and social well-being. That's the meaning of mental health so far. Funke, please, would you mind defining to us what you believe mental health to be and what it isn't, if there is any? Thanks, Funke.
Oh, so for me, just like in GZ, I believe that it is a state of well-being that cuts across your psychological, mental, social, emotional. I think how we see it play out is how people respond to stresses in life, work, family, life, health, your physical health as well. And for me, I believe that prioritizing the wellness of your mind, right? Because mental health just means that that's the state of well-being. Now you can prioritize it and have a healthy mental health, or your mental health can be healthy or not. So I think for me, it is important to prioritize your mental health. I know when we look on our bodies, you can see yourself. So when you're gaining weight, you're gaining weight, and you start to do things to take care of that. When you have acne, you start to do things to take care of that. But I don't think that we intentionally pay attention to the state of our mental well-being. And so for me, I like to advise that we just know ourselves. If you're in a state of stress, to take time out, to be intentional, to know when you are stretched, when you're getting overwhelmed, when you don't think you can handle what life throws at you at that time, and when you might need support. So for me, mental health, or protecting my mental health, is always key to just being successful in life.
Thank you, Funke. Thank you so much for that. So, in a summary, we've been able to understand that mental health is about maintaining your peace. It's also to do with an emotional, psychological, and social well-being. And Funke explained that mental health is emotional well-being that cuts along our social well-being, which relates to exactly what Njeezy mentioned, and also how it translates into our life. And Funke also mentioned the importance of prioritizing the wellness of our mind. So that is, in a sense, maintaining mental health, having a safe and healthy mental health. So thank you so much for the definition, ladies. If there's anyone in the audience that would like to come up on stage and ask questions, please feel free to raise your hand, or if you'd like to comment or have a particular view with regards to the topic, please feel free to raise your hand and come up on stage. Today, the Noble Faculty, I hope I'm saying that right, has set up a room called Women, Mental Health and Wellness as part of the the International Women's Month, which is the month of March. So we're celebrating women's achievements and we are choosing to challenge. So feel free to raise your hand and be a part of this conversation. I'll pass it on over to Yvonne as I PTR and reset the room so that she can ask the next question. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Bukki. I hope you guys can hear me. Just going back to the question of mental health. I know that there are various types of mental health, but can you, Olu and Funke, kind of define or give us examples of mental health that people might experience in day-to-day life? Olu?
Hi, can you help me?
I can hear you now.
We can hear you
Oh,
now.
okay. So, you said the types of the different types of mental health that people can
Yes,
can
ma'am.
experience on a day-to-day life, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like some of the ladies had talked about earlier, emotional, you know. So basically, if you take on too much more than you can handle on a day-to-day basis, and I am very guilty of this. Sometimes I have to catch myself and go back to the drawing board or take like a few steps back and regroup. But if you can then you can handle over a period of time, it takes a toll on you, and that's when it projects into physical stress, and you probably even start to see some physical signs where you might be breaking out. You're not sleeping very well, you're cranky all the time. And so but I believe that starts from the emotional state, because 9 times out of 10 you probably have something on your mind, and then that transfers into your physical states, and once it affects your mental or your emotional state, it transfers into your physical state. So I believe there are so many more different ways that people can experience mental health in life, but those are the two that I really that I kind of focus on my day-to-day. So because like I said, I'm one of those people that multitask a lot, and I do a very good job at multitasking, but sometimes I have to push the stop button and say, okay, you're not superwoman, calm down, take, hit the brakes, especially when I catch myself doing too much, because I can't give everything 100%. So I have to catch myself, and I usually would be able to tell when I start to, get really cranky, especially with my husband or my children, and I'm short with them, and I'm, people ask me one question, I'm, quick to, like, I'm on the defensive, and I'm just like really on edge with everybody, and I can't sleep. That's when I know that, okay, I need to do something about it. I'm losing my mind. Yeah. So that's it for me. I'm done.
Thank you. So what I get from it is probably like something like mood swings. When that time comes, obviously from emotional stress, you might get some mood swings, which when that happens, it's time to reset yourself.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much. And the same question goes to you, Funke.
Thank you. So with our mental health, we have our brain chemistry is always usually in question, right? So there's a default level that of brain hormones like serotonin, dopamine, that people are born with, right? And depending on how you handle what life throws at you, your diet, work out, those levels go up and down. And a big thing, one of the big stressors on mental health for women is pregnancy. So when you're pregnant and you've now had the baby, right? So postpartum, many women experience just the influx or the movement of all of the pregnancy hormones, right? It can affect the brain chemistry. And you see that in the first 10 days with the estrogen drop, with the progesterone dropping and the estrogen trying to come back up. What you start to see is that, especially in the first 10 days, many women after they've had their baby just are emotional. They're crying, they're angry, they're moody, and you say at that time it's called baby blues. And after the first 10 days, if you start to continue to see those symptoms, then you might be diagnosed as having postpartum depression. some moms have postpartum anxiety as well, right? And this is all related to their mental health. The state of their mental time is they have postpartum anxiety, they have postpartum depression, they have postpartum mood swings and such. So at that time, I just wanted to focus on postpartum and pregnancy because, like I said, this is where I like to be at is this topic. At that time, it's always very important that the mom is supported. Being African, many of us, just being people, the impact of community can never be underestimated, and that's why I guess for our society, when a mom has a baby, your family comes to come spend time with you. And if you don't have family, now they have postpartum doulas and postpartum support people to come be with you. And that community, taking time to even be able to go outside, can really do a lot to elevate or uplift your mental health and support your mental health. For some moms, after the first 10 days, they continue to struggle. And many moms might have to temporarily be prescribed medication to handle postpartum depression. So I always like to tell people, when you're pregnant, great. But many of us prepare for pregnancy, but we do not prepare for postpartum. And regarding postpartum and mental health, I tell people, when you're pregnant, start to think of your support system for your postpartum journey. Look at people you want to be there with you the first 2 weeks, the first month, the first 3 months, because just the hormones of your body, all of the pregnancy hormones beginning to leave your body, what that does is our body is a closed system. So it's always a cascade effect, right? So just the state of being pregnant, all of those hormones leaving your body, your mental health takes the hit, right? Your state of well-being takes the hit. Pregnancy is one of the major stressors on the human body, especially on the female body. And so what that does is it definitely does affect your mental health. However, when you plan for it, it might hit you worse than you expected or not, but when you plan for it, you already are trying to mitigate whatever might happen. So if you have family around, when you have those postpartum blues, or if you say into postpartum depression, you have people you can go on walks. Vitamin D is a really great supplement, and the best vitamin D comes from being in the sun for 30 minutes or more, and things like that. So that's one of the times where a woman's mental health is biologically stressed out the most is immediately after having a baby. But that first 1 year can be a time of great mental health stress for many women, and it's the time I encourage that people start to implement mental health wellness practices like meditating, walking. Your diet can affect your mental health. Science has shown that diets high in sugar, processed foods can actually throw you into a state of pseudo depression where you're lethargic, you're tired, you have mood swings because of how your blood sugar goes up and down. So these are things that people should take into consideration at this time. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So just to summarize what you said, Funke, especially for pregnant ladies and new mothers, the postpartum depression and anxiety disorder. So basically, having a good support system. Having a good support system is crucial, and also taking walks for vitamin D in the sun, which we like to do, especially when we have our sunscreen. We can stay in the sun forever. So yeah. Thank you for that. I'm going to pass it over to Bukki. But before that, I just want to welcome Sulaiman to the group. Z, how you doing? And welcome. Can you hear me, Z?
Yes. Hi, everyone.
Hi, how you doing? Thank you. Thank you for coming. And can you just give, before Bukki takes over, can you give us a short summary about who you are, where do you live, what do you do?
Sure. Hi everyone. I'm Z. I am currently in Nigeria, but I actually live in New Jersey in the States. And what I do, I am a sexual and reproductive health researcher, an educator, an advocate. I'm a doula in training, so I am training to kind of be a birth worker and assists birthing people, women and mothers to be in bringing their children into the world. My background is actually in mental health. That's what I studied in school for my bachelor's and my master's. I studied mental health, but I don't necessarily do work around mental health as much, but it is incorporated into the work that I do anyways. So yeah.
Thank you so much. So over to you, Bukki.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Z. Thank you, Funke. You actually touched on one of our very first topic, which was the importance of mental health for mothers, new mothers, and even mothers in general, and also carers. And I'm so glad you touched up on that and provided solution to it. And I think the general consensus that we're getting from this conversation is that physical, spirituality, and emotional health are all connected, which is why it's very important for us to focus on actually taking care of our whole self. And also, as I don't know much about mental health. I only know from what I've seen and the people I've been around, and also being a mother myself and what I went through with my body changing, with the stress that was the stress that was involved in it, the lack of sleep, not being able to have that connection with that time that you just spend so much time with your child and not being able to go out. That was for me anyway. So yeah, I totally understand that. I can only speak about my experience, but I know a lot of mothers, it's a challenging time for them. So I'm not sure whether is there anyone on stage or anyone that's in the audience that would like to come up to ask any questions specific to this area? If not, we'll just move on. But I've noticed that Chiohe's here. I've invited her on stage, and she's also quite big on mental health as well. Should we go to our next question, or let's welcome Chiohe. Hi, Chi. Hi, how are you?
Hi, Chi.
Hi, thank you so much for inviting me, Sister Bukki, and thank you to Yvonne for having this space. I think it's an amazing thing that you're doing, having a discussion. Sorry. Having a discussion about women, our mental health and wellness, because it's so important. It's something that we tend to just kind of leave by the wayside because we're so busy. So my name is Chiohe. I am a mental health podcaster and advocate, mother of 3, including this young man who is 2 weeks shy of 2 weeks shy of his first birthday, my little pandemic baby, and 2 older ones, one who is 2 and another one who's 5. And yes, mental health is a big passion of mine. I've struggled with depression and anxiety since I was a child, and I didn't realize I had it until I was in my final year of university. And I struggled with it quite a bit between my final year of university and then my master's as well. So since then, I've been on a very avid discovery path, trying to research as much as I can to find out what I can, and sharing all of that on my podcast so that people can not feel alone. People, especially people in the Black community, women in the Black community, can start taking care of themselves and, seeking help if they need to seek help, managing their mental health so that it's positive mental health rather than mental ill health, and, just kind of highlighting the things that we don't know. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Chi. Thank you so much for your vulnerability and for sharing that with us. Thank you. We really appreciate it. So thank you so much. One of the topics that we also wanted to touch on was how mental health affects women that are, within their careers or as business owners. If we can ask Olu and Funke or Z to share, maybe they've had, people they know or they've experienced it themselves, and what tools do they use to kind of alleviate the issues of being in the right space and the right mind to keep pushing as career women or to keep pushing as business owners? I'd like to ask that question to Olu. Olu, are you there?
I know that one thing that I wanted to touch on earlier that I forgot to mention real quick is I want people to understand that, and I've heard a few people, not a lot, but a few people actually mentioned this before in the past. I want people to understand that poor mental health and mental illness are not the same thing. So just because you're just because you have poor mental health, it doesn't necessarily mean that, oh, now you have a mental illness or you have a diagnosis. No, it's just, you would have to go through, professional and, be diagnosed to actually be able to say, well, you have a mental illness. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you have a mental illness. Poor mental health can happen because of anything that's going on in your life at that point in time. It can come and go. It can change over time. It can be occasional. It can be long lasting, and usually that might lead to a diagnosis. But I know for a fact that poor mental health can affect your productivity at work, for one thing. It can affect the way you focus on the job. It can affect, how you perform your duties in a job. And this is you working for somebody else. And it can lead to termination. It can lead to so many things, you losing your job and things like that on the job. As a career woman, as a business owner, it can actually have the same type of effect on your business, because when your mental health is at stake, then you won't be able to function at your optimum that you're supposed to function at in your business. You wouldn't, a lot of things would be neglected, could be neglected, your customers, for one. Everybody understands that customer service is a big thing when you own a business. I was listening to somebody talk a couple of days ago, and they're talking about how that right there alone is like 70% of the struggle. Whatever product that you're selling is just like the 30% of it. You might not have an amazing product. Your product might just be good enough. But if everything else, your customer service, the other things that you provide to your customers are 70%, they're most likely to come back because of the experience, But when your mental health is at stake, you can jeopardize that and, put your business at risk. You can lose customers. You can even lose your business. So it's very, 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 very important. I can't stress it enough for you to prioritize your mental health. And, and like I said, you will know, you know yourself, you know your body. Like, I have mastered my body so much so that I can tell when I start to get stressed out, and when I'm losing focus, and when I'm losing, when my mental health is starting to deteriorate. I can tell. Some people might not be able to tell. It takes time. You have to master your body. You have to know your body. You have to listen, or so to speak, look for the cues, the signs that are not so obvious, sometimes. And for me, like I mentioned earlier, one of the biggest ways that I have been able to deal with this, and just put my mental health back in check, is through exercise. And that's how Ohlese Fit Club, pretty much long before Ohlese Fit Club started, I've all things fitness, and I would explore all different types of fitness routine and stuff like that. One of the biggest ones for me that I've found to be extremely therapeutic is running. Like, usually when I go outside, it's really on a nice, beautiful day, and I just go for it. Even if it's just a 1 mile run, I feel amazing after that. So that's my therapy. That's what I do for myself. That's what I call self-care. And self-care is part of you taking care of your mental health, taking care of you, physically, mentally, emotionally, taking care of you as a whole human being, making sure that you're 100% mentally, physically, emotionally. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Olu. Thank you so much. It's I picked up so much from what you've just said. Thank you so much for sharing that. Funke, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. So juggling a career, a bit, baby, all of our obligations, can be tough. When we're not in balance, one of the major things that happens is that our stress hormone, which is called cortisol, goes up. A logical response, I guess, to help. So, when imagine just being in the forest, right? Or and then this lion jumps out. Your fight or flight response kicks in, right? So your body automatically increases your cortisol level, your adrenaline goes up, your heart is beating faster, and you run away, right? Now we no longer live in the forest, but we still have this biological response because it is our self-preservation. This is how nature preserves us. But what happens is that the body cannot differentiate between mental stress, emotional stress, physical stress, and physiological stress. Your body does not know, okay, Funke is not in a jungle, right? The minute I am very stressed out and the stress is not going away, because usually, your stress will go up and it will come down, and that's the natural rhythm of life. But when we are moms, or not moms, when you're just a busy person, you have a job, you have a business, you have obligations to family, to friends, church, or whatever. You have all these things that pull you in different directions. And right, the truth of the matter is we're living in a very stressful time, right? What happens is that your body thinks that it is in that forest and this lion is about to attack it. So it is in a constant state of stress. Your flight or flight response is activated and your cortisol goes up. If you're not taking steps to de-stress, your body is always going to think that something is coming for it. And some of the side effects from being in a constant state of stress is your mental health takes a beating, right? Your dopamine and serotonin levels go down. You cannot sleep. Your sleep is not optimal, and your body recovers from stress through sleep. So when you're not able to sleep well, because for example, just like me, I am 9 months postpartum, your cortisol is through the roof, and you enter a state of mental health unwellness. When you're going through a very stressful time in your life, the death of a parent, divorce, all of these things, the same thing happens. So it's important that in life you have to find balance. So, like Olu said, you have to know what your baseline is. Like, so everybody, we have a natural baseline behavior, right? You start to know when you're stressed, when, for example, you're just angry all the time. If out of the blue, for no reason, you're just angry, anyone says anything to you, you're just like, pow, 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 you've chopped their head off. Even when your family starts to say, hey, Funke, is everything okay? You're acting very different. Some women start to eat more. Some women start to eat less. Some people start to sleep a whole lot more. You don't want to take care of yourself. You don't want to take care of your appearance. You don't want to take care of your surroundings. Those are signs that you're getting overwhelmed and you need to step back, right? And so I always, being a scientist and being an herbalist, I always like to look at life from those two lenses. So from a scientist point of view, and even an herbalist point of view, it's at that point you have to now start doing things like sleep more. This is hard to believe, but sleeping 8 hours at least a day can actually start to change, reduce that cortisol we're talking about, and start to bring your levels down. Things like having a mindfulness practice can start to do that, because one of the things you notice when someone is very stressed out is they gain weight. And that's because, again, like I said, this cortisol hormone, when it goes in, your body's like, we're fighting or we're running away. Guess what? If we're going to run away, we need food. Okay, all this sugar that this person has eaten, all of this food that Funke has eaten, I'm not going to burn it for energy. I'm going to conserve it so that if we have to go into starvation mode, we have energy. And guess what? My body starts to rack on the pounds. And that's why you see sometimes some postpartum women put on weight. Some people who've gone through a divorce put on weight. Some people who've gone through the death of a parent put on weight. It's because you are stressed out. And once everyone try this, right? Have a night of bad sleep. You're going to notice that you don't sleep well today. On Tuesday, the very next day, you're going to be craving more sweets. You're going to be craving more coffee. You're going to be craving more sugar. You're going to be craving burgers. You're going to be craving all of this sugary stuff, because when you're stressed out, your body compensates by needing more sugar, right? And many people then begin to make unhealthy food-based decisions. And it's a circular loop because the food you eat determines the energy that you have. Olu had said something about, and I think I had touched upon it, that there's even something called pseudo depression, and that comes from all of the chemicals and all of the sugar that we eat in the processed food. After a while, you have brain fog. You can't think clearly. You can't remember anything. You're just like, oh my God, what was I about to do? So you start to see these things. So it's very important that you try to attack this head on. But what is most important is that you live a life of intention. Check yourself. If you think that you're getting overwhelmed, have people that you trust. Build a trust circle. Have your friends check up on you. Text one of your girlfriends to say, hey, I'm really struggling. If I start to sound crazy, just check up on me, right? Just start to have, if you have a partner in your life, you can call their attention to it to say, hey, if I'm acting crazy, you see that we're fighting more, call my attention to it. Just have checks and balances, start to sleep more. Look at the diet that you're eating. I'm a big proponent of, when a woman has had a baby or you're going through stress in your life, I'm a big proponent of, if you have the funds, have a chef or have one of all those pre-planned healthy food companies make the food for you, because really and truly, the food you eat has a direct effect on your mental health, and these are things that we take for granted. So for me, it's really big. And I'm walking right now. I'm there. I'm a business owner. I'm a scientist. I'm a mom. I'm a wife. It's hard, right? But things I do, for example, are sometimes when it's just too much, I just go out and I take a walk. There's something about being in the sunlight and walking that releases like your endorphins. And when you're just there, right, your body will produce these endorphins when you've been working out or even when you're just happy. And what that does is it activates your brain chemistry. We had talked about brain chemistry earlier, and your brain hormones are like, oh, we're happy, we have some sunlight. And you actually start to feel better. And it's a cascade event, so you feel better, then you're like, oh my God, I feel like dancing. And you dance and you build it, right? So it's like a cup, and you continually pour into this cup, right? So just please be intentional. Please do things that bring you fun. If you think it's too much, please step away. There are times where I was a new mom. I had some postpartum depression, and I would just tell my husband, I'm like, I cannot do this right now. Take the baby. And I would get into the car and I would just drive. Sometimes I would drive and go sit in the parking lot and just watch people. But that was what I needed to do at that time. So I just wanted to just share with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Funke. Sorry, go on, Yvonne.
No, just thank you so much, Funke. The same question goes to you, Z, in regards to mental health, and especially for women in the business space. How do we cope, and what signs do we look out for when we see it's coming? The same thing for you as well, Chio, when Z finishes.
Yeah, thank you. So I'll just add on. So I agree with everything that Olu and Funke have said. I think one of the things that I think they've kind of touched on things to look out for, and I'll just talk about like what you can do. And so one of the things, and then depends on where you work, right? It depends also on where you live. I know that a lot of organizations in like the US and in the UK and Canada have like mental health days. Take those. If your company has that policy, you're allowed to take a mental health day, right? And so take those days. Some organizations call them community days. So like where I work, we call them community days, and just take them, and just say that I need to take a mental health day. Sometimes if you're working, especially if you're working for someone else, right? Take that time off if you need it, because a lot of times, especially if you're a mother as well, or if you're even an entrepreneur, you have a lot of competing priorities, and sometimes that can also take a toll on our mental health as well. One other thing that I'll say is, and I think someone might have touched on it before, is the food we eat as well. I think that nourishing our body has an effect on our mood. And I know that sometimes soul food is comforting, like comfort food is comfort food for us, and it does make us feel good, but not always in the long run. And I think that eating like fruits and vegetables, and I know people, we've been hearing this all our lives, but even for me personally, I know how I feel when I'm eating like nourishing foods, also like drinking tea and things like that. And I think that's a very, very overlooked aspect. The other thing that I know that people often recommend, and I've kind of been noticing it for myself as well, and it's related to nutrition, is um, using vitamins. And so a lot of times I think the diets that we eat don't often kind of cover a lot of the vitamins that we need, right? And so sometimes taking a multivitamin will help with some of the imbalances that we may have that might affect our mood as well. And the other thing that I'll say is therapy. I know that in the Black community, in the African community, Nigerian community, therapy is something that's kind of frowned upon, or like, mental health in general, right, is something that's frowned upon. And I think that you don't even need to be dealing with a mental illness to go to therapy, right? You might just need someone to speak to, and sometimes talking therapies, it works. There's like years of data to show that it works for different communities as well and different backgrounds, so it works. And there are a lot of options for therapy. If you're in the US, I would recommend going through Open Path Collective, I think it is. They're like a low cost option because therapy, like in the US, without insurance, can be like about $200 per session, but with this option, you can get it for a lot cheaper. So I would, yeah, so therapy definitely, I would always recommend therapy. And if you feel like it's something that's a bit more serious, and so I'll just share just a little bit of my personal experience. I have a son, and I dealt with postpartum depression after I gave birth. And my son's pediatrician noticed it when we went for one of his checkups. And it was something that my doctor, my OB, was kind of on the lookout for even before I gave birth, just because I had a history of depression before. And I think that we had thought that we would like prevent it because it's a child and I'd be happy and all of this, but it still happened, and I still had postpartum depression. And his pediatrician noticed it and like recommended me to see a psychiatrist, and I was diagnosed. And I think that it's interesting, and when we think about stigma as well, my aunties that were kind of around me was like, oh no, don't let them call you what you're not. Just a lot of like negative talk. But I think that sometimes taking that bold step, sometimes when you're living in that moment, it's hard to kind of make clear decisions. But if you're able to do that, it's helpful to seek help whenever you can, because there is always help available, even if you're in Nigeria. There are a few good therapists and psychologists in Nigeria, so help is always available. But that's all I have to share, in addition to what everyone else has said, really.
No, thank you so much, Z. Just listening to you got me thinking about, one of the old jobs that I had, because I was so stressed out at home. I brought it to work, which made me more irritated with everybody. And so obviously I wasn't really productive, but I had my comfort food, which was chocolate and biscuits in my desk. So it's just constantly munching, and that didn't help the situation, to be honest, but it just kept me busy and kind of, distracted from all the stuff that was going on around me. But I think at one point it kind of blew over, and I was told to see an occupational therapist because it was getting too much. We need to take advantage of those opportunities and services given to us at work, because it does help. I know sometimes as Black people and Africans, we shy away from speaking to therapists, but they do help. So I think we should take advantage of it. Chio, would you like to add to the conversation about this?
Yes, please. So what some people might not be aware of is that it's actually a much bigger issue than we think. If we were to quantify the effect of poor mental health, or not taking care of your mental health and maintaining a positive mental health, you'd see that there's actually statistics that show that 1 in 4 people experience mental health issues every single year, which on a global scale, that's 792 million people affected by mental health issues. And at any given time, 1 in 6 working age adults have symptoms associated with mental ill health. And when I say symptoms that are associated with mental ill health, that's things like being withdrawn, losing interest in what you would usually be interested in, not finding joy in the things that would usually bring you joy, being irritable, oversleeping, or suddenly suffering with what's the word for this now? Or suddenly not being able to sleep well. Thank you very much. Yes, that's the word I was looking for. In the UK alone, mental illness is the second largest burden of disease just in England, and it's on a global scale. It's also a similar thing. The truth of the matter is this: because mental illness is not something that is seen, and we often don't know when it starts to set in, because we think, oh, I'm just having a bad day, or maybe I'm just a bit grumpy today. If I get a bit more sleep tomorrow, I'll be fine. I think it's good when you start to notice that you are feeling some kind of way, to keep a diary on it. Just write down. I have this app. So it's a period tracker app, but it also asks you other questions like, what's your mood like today? If you don't have to specifically use that one, but using apps like that where you can track, okay, I've had this many low days. If I was to actually put a number to those low days, and let's say 10 being I feel great and 1 being I feel really low, and you look at those numbers, it'll tell you whether or not, what's going on and what you would need to do to try and mitigate that. So exercise is an excellent one. So honestly, the speakers that have come before me have spoken about many, many great ways to take care of your mental health, particularly exercise, diet, and sleep. Also, there are apps that can help you. Mindfulness, I find mindfulness almost like a superpower. It's something you can use right where you are. If you're sitting somewhere now listening to us and you are feeling stressed out, or you've had a really stressful day, you don't even have to get an app actually. Look for a maybe 10-minute mindfulness. That's what I usually search for when my kids are driving me crazy. 10-minute mindfulness practice, and sit, close your eyes, and have a listen. It'll calm you down almost instantly. If you don't like what they're saying, look for a different one. There are tons on YouTube. But there are specific apps dedicated to that kind of thing. There are apps dedicated to therapy, such as BetterHelp. There are apps dedicated to mindfulness, such as, I think it's called, oh goodness, is it?
There's one called Calm.
Thank you. That's the one. That's exactly
it.
I thought I just highlighted those things. And Headspace. Those are very, very wonderful apps. I thought I'd just bring that in because those were the only things that hadn't been mentioned before. But I'm very appreciative of being on stage with very, very knowledgeable people who have basically told you how to spot if you're starting to feel low, and if you might need to see someone. The other 2 things I wanted to say before I hush is, 1, don't give yourself a hard time. Be kind to yourself even when you forget to be kind to yourself. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean, sometimes we will have grouchy days. We will snap at our kids and we'll be like, why did I do that? I'm such a terrible mother. No, you're not a terrible mother. And forgive yourself for saying, oh, I'm such a terrible mother. You have to be resilient with being kind to yourself. We're so much kinder to other people outside of this body that we live in than we are to ourselves. And that's something we forget to do because we think it's okay to be critical of ourselves so we can, the excuse is, quote unquote, make ourselves better. It's actually not, it doesn't make you better to criticize yourself and to pull yourself down. You have to take the time to love on yourself. Sometimes just stand in front of a mirror and say, I am beautiful and I love myself. And I'm grateful to be alive right now. Gratitude practice is another very powerful thing. If, however, you've already gone particularly far in terms of you've gone into depression and you need to see a doctor, I'm not expecting you to stand in front of a mirror forever, repeating, I love myself, I love myself, I love myself, expecting that to fix everything. But I'm just talking about maintaining positive mental health. So I think I've said the 2 things I wanted to say. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Yo. I just wanted to ask a question. So, at the workplace where, you're in a high power job and you're trying to compete to be amongst the best, or to sit with the boys, as they say, on the table. There's a lot of pressure that comes along with being a working mom, a wife, and then obviously a top boss. How do we deal with that when we can feel that it's getting to us and we're about to break down? How do we know the signs, and how do we kind of pull ourselves out? Who do we talk to? What kind of services or organizations do we kind of contact, what's the necessary steps that we can take when we notice those signs that are coming? Because we want to be the boss, we want to sit on the table with everybody else, but the pressure is too much because of the responsibilities that we have from home, from family. How do we deal with that? Have you ever encountered anything like that?
One thing that I've learned is no matter what your position is in this life, never be afraid to delegate, never be afraid to take a break and just stop everything. Because sometimes when we're in that position of think, oh, I have to, I can't do this, I can't take time off for myself, I can't do that, I have to be here, I have to oversee things. But, prioritizing your mental health and loving yourself enough to take care of your body and your mind is being able to say, need a break, you take over, delegating responsibility to people that you can trust within your organization. So maybe your direct, people that come directly under you and saying, hey, this is the task, this so-and-so that needs to be done. I need to take 1 day, 2 day off, go to the spa, take a weekend off and go somewhere, renew your mind and just take time off. But be afraid to ask for help. Don't ever be afraid to delegate. Don't think you have to take on everything all by yourself. And this doesn't only even apply to a boss lady. You can apply this to your daily life. I'm talking from the standpoint of a wife now and a mother. I tend to try to do everything by myself, and I find that I start to get overwhelmed because my husband would see me do everything and he's like, yeah, she got it. So men, they don't mean it in the wrong way. They don't know any better. They're not going to really step in, at least some of them, unless you actually ask. So when they think you got it. They think you're okay, right? Yeah, she can do it all. I mean, sometimes you even brag, oh, my wife is a super woman. She's do this and that all at the same time. But I had to pause and say, look, you need to start asking for help. You need to say, hey, can you help me do this? Can you help me do that while I do this? Because I can't do it all. My ego wants to do it all, but I really can't. So never be afraid to ask for help. Never be afraid to delegate. Never be afraid to take a break from whatever. There's nothing that's that important in your life that you have to put your mental health and your well-being on a side burner. So never be afraid to take that time off and say, I need to take care of me. I need to prioritize me. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Olu. I'm just going to reset the room quickly. So hi, everybody. This is the Noble Faculty Podcast, and we're celebrating Women's Month, which is from the March the 1st to the 31st of March. And so today we're talking on women in mental health awareness. We're going to open the floor to people in the audience. If you have any questions you want to ask the speakers, or if you have any nuggets that you want to drop so we can learn, please press the hands button and we can bring you up on stage. We will take 4 people at a time, and then we will rotate as it goes along. So hi, JC. Hi, Roslyn. How you doing? Please don't be afraid. Don't be shy. Men are also welcome to come on stage and talk as well. So
hi, my name is JC. I'm a mental health practitioner, and I also, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Welcome, JC.
Hi there. Yeah, so I blog about mental health. Is very dear to my heart because I've worked with a lot of women that I feel that something could be done before it got to where they are at the moment. And like in our community, I'm a Black African, obviously because of the stigma and the difficulty of accessing services, people obviously are caught up. And I think we need to talk a bit more about encouraging one another, talking a bit more about mental health and how to access services. Why I'm actually emphasizing on this is because a lot could have been avoided, even children as well. Sometimes when mothers are struggling, they don't know who to speak to. they probably will speak to friends who have very little knowledge about mental health, or they talk to maybe their some people who are a member of a church or something. They'll probably say, oh, we pray about it. But we can pray about it. Prayer is good, but obviously if you need professionals to support you with your mental health and getting in there to help out, it is really important. Also, I was going to touch upon about the last question when you asked, how do people cope with if they have a very high stressful job? I mean, for me, I will give you an example. Obviously, I've been homeschooling for the past 2 months, and I have a very good supporting manager whom I could call to say to her, listen, I can't come, I need to take a break. And I was really lucky. I've been really lucky, really, for her to say, okay, it's okay. I'll get my diaries together, sort things out, and I'll take time off, even if it's in short notice, because I know that I can't go anymore. And so speaking up, saying it as it is, not shying away from it, take a break. A lot of ladies just talk about what they do. I blog, and that it just takes me away from everything else, because I talk about what I love doing, encouraging people. I write about different things, about how to promote your mental health, self-care, practice self-care. There's so many things out there you can do, very little, and you don't have to do so much as well to self-care. Find something you enjoy doing, do that, connect with other people, have I know that it's not everyone that have a very good set of friends, but anything you can do, really, because at the moment where we are, especially in this pandemic, realize that, it is really, really hard. If you don't have people you can connect with, it is so hard because we're not going out there. I mean, we found there's influx of referrals because people have lost their jobs. They're not connecting with other people. It's mind blowing what, how this pandemic had affected people's mental health. And I think we're all going through the same thing, but it's just, knowing when to say, you know what, no, I can't do this anymore. I think I need to stop now. I think I need to take a break now. And, that's it, really. Thank you.
No, thank you so much, JC. We appreciate that. If you can give us the name of your blog that we can actually go on and read and hopefully get some tips, that'll be greatly appreciated. What's the name of your blog?
Okay, it's JC Passion Blog.
Okay, and that will be in your bio.
On my, oh, yes, that will be in my bio. Yeah.
Oh, perfect. Thank you so much. Hi, Vaseline. How you doing?
Hi, I'm well. Thank you so much for having me. So my name is Sulaiman, and I am a author. I'm a life coach and a blogger as well. And I just wanted to share a resource in relation to the topic of mental health. So I have a book called The Wholeness Action Plan, which has a lot of tips and things that are very helpful to maintain a balanced mental health. We cannot always control what happens to us, but we do have a choice in how we respond to what happens to us. And I found that as a believer, there's a lot of similarities in what the Bible teaches as far as mental health and what psychology teaches. For example, there was a story that God had ministered to me from the Bible while I was on the train one day. There's a story in the Bible about a young lady named Tamar. She had a half-brother named Amnon. Amnon raped her. It was due to no fault of her own, of course. But she had a choice to make in how she responded. Even though it was not her fault, she decided to punish herself because of what happened to her. And the Bible says that she decided to live the rest of her life desolate in her brother Absalom's house. So that was her choice. And I think sometimes when things happen to us, we can put ourselves into a prison based on how we respond. And we have to remember, first of all, we have a choice. We don't have to allow anxiety and things that threaten our mental health and our balance to get us outside of control. So we have to use that choice to forgive, to set up boundaries, to protect ourselves because we're valuable, without feeling guilty, you know. And then in addition to that, self-care is big for mental health. That's also a biblical principle. The Bible talks about how the main commandment and the first and the greatest commandment is to love God and then to love our neighbor as we first love ourselves. So we can't love other people or take care of other people, even when we're trying to take care of our family and we're caregiving and things of that nature, if we don't take some time to set aside to actually take care of ourselves. And then finally, one of the other things that I noticed that the Bible teaches, that mental health also teaches, is the ideal of reframing. So reframing is when you're replacing a negative thought with a positive thought in psychology. So the Bible teaches in 2 Corinthians 10:5 to reframe our thinking, where it talks about how we need to cast down every thought and every imagination that would exalt itself against the knowledge of God. So the knowledge of God is what we know to be true. And sometimes lies come into our head that we may believe about ourselves. I'm not good enough, or I'm not worthy, etc. Well, that's against what God says about us, because God says that we've been accepted in the beloved, you know, and so many good things about us. So I just wanted to share that these are some of the things that I go over, and I kind of break it down, and I share stories in my book, The Wholeness Action Plan. And at the end of the book, there's actually like a contract that you can sign with yourself, where you commit to yourself to walk in wholeness. And I talk about, you know, establishing a strong community, having quiet time each day with prayer and forgiveness, and, you know, just all types of things that can also assist someone. So thank you so much for having me.
No, thank you so much, Roslyn. And can you please give us the name of your website or your IG where we can get the details for the plan?
Sure, you can find all of my books at russellandwilliams.com. Again, that's russellandwilliams.com.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Actually, at this time, I'm still going to open the floor to anyone who has questions to ask our panelists on mental health. The men, you're also welcome to come on stage and ask us questions, or just drop some nuggets on how we can help ourselves as women, especially in this pandemic, dealing with children, homeschooling, the household, being the perfect wife and the perfect mother and the perfect daughter, sister, all the pressures of life, and how we can get support. I was actually thinking, especially as Black women, we're usually not that open to getting help, and we feel we can do it all. And I mean, that's a challenge I found. I just kind of take everything, you know. We find it hard to say no, and it gets overwhelming. And sometimes I wonder, do we have a community out there? Because obviously you don't want to talk to your family, you don't want to talk to your friends, because then they know you're breaking down and you don't want to be seen as the weak one. So is there a community out there that we can kind of dive into when we feel that pressure is coming on, and that are basically non-judgmental per se? Do you know any that we can refer people to?
Go on,
Funke, would you like to go first?
Oh, sure. Yes. So there are now resources that people can tap into. I'm only going to speak for where I'm located, which is the U.S. There are a ton of Facebook groups. So I think that has been one of the benefits of online community around a shared experience. So, for example, me being a postpartum mom, I am in a couple postpartum groups, and they have different kind of groups under that topic. So there's I've seen postpartum depression groups, I've seen just postpartum groups, I've seen first time mommy groups. I'm an entrepreneur, so I'm in a couple herbalist groups, I'm in business owner groups. They have support for that. Also, if you are working here in the US, there's something called, I think it's the EAP program. It's your employee assistance program. And what that does is specifically for your mental health. It's usually anonymous. So everything that you discuss in those meetings are private. Your boss isn't going to find out, right? most companies offer you, I think it's 12 to 15 free sessions, and they're usually about an hour long. So if you're employed in the US, look to see what your company's EAP program is like and go see someone. Usually most people start to feel better once they've talked to someone, depending on what the issue is. And if at the end of your 12, 15, 20 free sessions, they feel like you need to see somebody more, then they will refer you. And to an extent, it's covered by insurance. I'm a big fan of just walking. So when you're like, even if you're trying to be outside more, find a community. There's always communities around Facebook, here on Clubhouse, and even in-person interactions. Of course, now there's COVID, so that's limited. But if you're able to find community around where you are, spirituality and religion are big anchors for many people. So finding like a spiritual group or religious group you can plug into is also helpful. But yes, there are resources. There are websites. I can't think of any right at the top of my head, but I do know that, for example, there are tons of amazing groups on Facebook. And Facebook has a feature. It's a really cool feature in some of these groups, where you can ask an anonymous question. So you can ask a question in the group anonymously, and no one's going to know that it's you. So you can say, hey, I'm struggling. I don't know if this is postpartum blues or if it's something more. Here's what I'm going through. And people can say, oh yeah, I went through that. This is what happened. Maybe you should go see someone. And you can ask questions without fear of judgment. So I just want to tell people Facebook has been an amazing resource, in addition to a lot of the online resources as well. Mm-hmm.
And do you know the name of the Facebook groups that we can kind of?
There are a few. So right off the top of my head, I know that there's a postpartum depression group. I think they talk about postpartum depression, anxiety. There are many pregnancy groups, there are mommy groups, there are first time groups. So it's just if you go to Facebook and Google whatever you're looking for, and you add group, something will pop up. And you can just look to see who have members, and just go through that way.
Thank you so much. Chio?
Hi. So if you just pull down your screen to refresh, I've just got the profile of a friend of mine and Sister Bukki's, who owns an organization that speaks to and supports women going through sometimes loss, sometimes child loss, but mostly supporting women's emotional and mental wellness. They are called Global Sororitas. So if you could check them out on Instagram, they have a website where they which is bigoutreach.org. And basically the friend that owns this, she is she's a therapist. She is a mental health practitioner, so she is very good at supporting people with this, and the organization she has started is supposed to support women with this kind of thing. It's completely free because it's a charity, so feel free to connect with Global Sororitas and with our friend Kiji. She's actually not in the room at the moment. She was here earlier though, and they are a very, very good service. I was going to say the thing about Facebook groups. There are tons of wonderful Facebook groups for Black women, for women in general, for postpartum. There's so many, and I'm glad that Funke already said that, so I don't need to say it again. But yeah, please just tap where my face should be and have a look at the picture and connect with Global Sororitas.
Thank you so much. I've taken a screenshot of that as well, so we can add that when the information comes out. JC and Roslyn, do you have any suggestions of any groups and stuff?
I can't think of any at the moment. There is a young lady that I follow. Give me a second. I may be able to look her up.
Okay, that's fine. Just want to welcome Fee to this stage. Hi, how you doing?
Hi, ladies. How's everybody doing today? I saw this group and I definitely wanted to jump in. My name is Fee. I've been a member of Clubhouse now for probably 2 weeks. Woohoo! I'm also a mental health advocate. I'm a survivor. I'm a survivor of sexual assault, of child abuse, and of molestation. And I'm also a suicide survivor ×3. So I've definitely, my life has been through the ringer. I feel like if there was ever a time in my life to feel like I can celebrate myself, it is now. And reason being is because I didn't allow my childhood traumas to defeat me. I overcame them. It may have taken me a better part of 20 years to get to a point where I can speak and allow myself to be as raw and vulnerable as possible to share my story. But I hope that by sharing my story and by sharing my vulnerability, that I will bring other people into that circle to say it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to have experienced these things, and more importantly, it's okay to heal. I have minor depression, PTSD, and TMJ, also stemming from my childhood traumas. And I've spent in and out of therapy 15, 20 years now. And I've also experienced some EMDR, which I really do think that has really helped me to open up parts of my brain that I didn't know that was there. And that's why I feel like now is the time for me to step out of the shell, step out of my shadow, and share my story. I'm creating a podcast that is called The Healing Place that I'm hoping to launch within the next week or so, and it will be a place where everyone, anyone that has suffered any type of trauma, they can come here, they can have a safe space to be vulnerable, to feel other people be vulnerable, and also to be able to heal, to learn from each other, to learn from the mistakes that I made, because I didn't have a support system growing up. I'd have a support system as an adult. It was all me just going through life and trying to figure out what are some things that I want to do to help cultivate the best parts of me. And so I hope to share all of those experiences with my listeners, and I hope that they will in turn share their experiences, because I feel like mental health is something that we should always maintain throughout your entire life, because once you stop growing, once you stop knowing, you stop growing. And so I'm constantly looking for ways that I can grow, that I can be my best self. And I hope that somehow or another I can reach someone and they come to me and say, Fee, because of you, because of your words, because of your vulnerability, I didn't give up, and I'm going to continue to keep pressing forward. That's my name. That's my story. That's my mantra. I'm Fee, and I look forward to meeting so many wonderful people on this app. I am crossing paths with people that I never would ever probably have the opportunity to meet. And I think that with mental health being so important right now, because not only am I dealing with something, my neighbor's dealing with something, the people around the corner are dealing with something, especially during the middle of a pandemic, being here in the United States and having the racism that's going on in this country and the division that's going on in this country. I think it is so important that we band together so that we all can feel like we, at the end of the day, we got some love. We filled up our love tank. We filled up our mental tank, that we can go out there and we can be warriors for other people. I'm Fee. Thank you for allowing me to speak, and I'm done speaking.
That is amazing. And I just don't know what happens in my area right now in London, but NEPA has taken light in my area. This is just so strange.
Well, can I just say, Faye, thank you for sharing your story, Yvonne. We're coming to you in a minute.
Oh,
There was
sorry.
one thing you said. Once you stop growing, once you stop knowing, you stop growing. That's I'm taking that, and I want to thank you for being in this space and sharing your story. Thank you for trusting us with your story, and I'm looking forward to your podcast. And this is another avenue in which women can actually, or men, can actually listen in and take from your journey and use it to support themselves as well. But yeah, thank you all so much for being in this space. Please do connect with one another. This room was created as part of a project, a program to support Women's History Month, which is this March. And I believe the IWD International Women's Day, which is on Monday, the theme this year is Choose to Challenge. So through Noble Faculty Podcast, this is the reason why this has been recorded. We have a number of programs scheduled for the next couple of days to celebrate women, because we choose to challenge to help forge a gender equal world. We choose to challenge to maintain a gender equal mindset. We choose to challenge gender stereotypes and bias, and call out gender actions and assumptions, and forge positive visibility of women. and most importantly, not just celebrate women's achievement and forge women's equality and support amongst each other. So for the next couple of days, today is our first ever room, which is focused around understanding women in mental health and wellness, and to get some kind of tips around, what are the mental experiences women face as mothers, as new mothers, as carers. And we also discuss topics around, women on their career ladders and their, experiences as business owner. There is one thing that Faye touched, which was, violence and trauma and, and certain things. We didn't touch on that today, and I hope we'll find time to actually probably schedule another room focusing on that and find ways in which, and bring some experts to be able to support that. But if not, please do check out Faye and check out Chiohi. I'm so glad Chiohi spoke about Global Sororitas, which is a platform that supports women with not just postnatal depression, but also many other traumatic events as well. But yes, I'm glad that Faye came up on stage and shared her experience and shared her podcast. So please do go and follow her. And yes, so
Absolutely. Make sure you guys DM me because I definitely am going to be looking to speak with other survivors and share their stories and their knowledge. The fact that I'm at this point where I'm finally stepping out and doing this is huge, that I never even expected. I tried putting it on the back burner for many years, but you know how you just find your calling and it doesn't stop until it's like the loudest noise in the room. And that's where I am. It has been the loudest noise in my room for years. And I've been afraid to share my story because I didn't see the value. I didn't know that there was any value there. And it's only through the very few days that I've been here in Clubhouse that I'm realizing the magnitude of the value of human stories and actually feeling connected to something. And I'm just completely overwhelmed. I hope that I don't have to take a moment to myself and cry. And maybe I actually need to cry because these are
You're
tears
allowed
of
to
joy and
cry.
happiness.
You're allowed to cry. You're
Um,
allowed to cry.
I just feel like the level of people that I have been in contact with over the last couple of days, it just is giving me that courage that to go ahead and do this, because there's so many people that out there that they just want to know that somebody else out there understands them. And I'm sorry that I had to I interjected, but
no
I
apologies.
just this is something that before they put me in my pink glittery casket and put me in the ground, I want to feel like I give this the energy necessary to see this through. And more importantly, I want my son, he's dealing with his own little emotional trauma from what COVID has infected on him, of losing his friendships and losing his livelihood. I want my 10-year-old son to say to me that because of you, mommy, I didn't give up. And I want anyone that ever feels that way to feel like that something resonated with them, that they will never give up, because I think you can't give up. And I'm sorry that I'm so emotional, but I can't help it at this point. But I want to give so much more back to the world, even though when I was younger, the world didn't give me anything. I still feel compelled to do something more for someone else because I know what that feels like to be on an island by myself.
Faye, can I just say this words to you? And first of all, you are allowed to cry. The good thing about Clubhouse is allowed us to set ourselves free. You'd be amazed at how many people have gone the same journey or have had the same journey that you've had. And the fact that we can tell our story, that's what connects us all. So please, darling, let your mess be your message. That's what you're doing. Your mess has become your message, and that will help set other people free. So never apologize for that journey. Never apologize. You are going to be impactful without even knowing it. So just keep telling your story and just keep smiling. But just know that someone is being blessed right now in this audience by your mess, which has now become your message. So I'm sending you hugs and love, and just know that, we're here. I'm following you now, and I just can't wait to hear your podcast.
Thank you so much. A pouring of love that I have received. I never would imagine that I would ever be at this point, because for so many years, I kept my secret to myself, and all I did was hurt myself. And the most pivotal moment that I experienced was when I was 29 approaching 30. And I felt like that my life was just, it was nothing. I felt like my contribution was nothing. And I tried to kill myself. And I've tried killing myself 3 times, but this was the last time. And the thing that was most unique about the last suicide attempt was that I had this out of body experience where I can hear the guy that I was dating at the time, he's trying to revive me. I can feel the EMS workers trying to revive me. They were doing everything from giving me smelling salts to driving their knuckle into my sternum. And I remember feeling like, wow, this really hurts, but I am not in a position where I can even respond. And I wake up in the hospital 3 days later. And when I woke up, I had been in a coma for 3 days. I had tubes down my throat. And I can hear the physicians saying, we're not really sure what this young woman took to put herself in this situation, but she's very, very lucky because not only did she suffer a seizure in the back of an ambulance, she also went into cardiac arrest. And it was at that moment I felt like there's something else that I'm supposed to do, and it will be my lifelong journey to figure out what it is. Well, now I've had that moment that it's like, okay, it's knocking me in the head. It's staring me right in the face. And so that's why for me, mental health and the importance of mental health and just learning to love and heal ourselves from within. It is my greatest, biggest journey. It is my greatest thing in life that I have to give to the world. And I hope that somehow, somewhere, somebody will hear me and go, see, because of you, I'm not going to give up. If I can reach one person and that one person goes on to reach another person and it continues, then everyone hopefully along the way will have some sort of healing that they can continue to just cultivate and pass it on to the next person. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you. I mean, sometimes I believe in destiny so much, and this was just God ordained. That's all I can say. And thank you so much for sharing your story with us. Thank you, Chio. Thank you, Waslin. Thank you, JC, Funke, Olu, and Jizzy. You guys, thank you so much for just sharing your stories and giving us tips. This affects everybody, men and women. But for us as Black women, we take on so much. I feel like it's just like God said, I created you to just take on the burden of the whole world, and He's given us the strength, but we also need the hands to carry us. And so talking amongst ourselves, these are the hands we need to carry us, to let us know, we've got you. You don't have to walk. We walk on water and we'll just carry you. So thank you. My hands, I'm grateful. I'll pass it on to Toba and Bukki, but thank you.
Thank you, Yvonne. Thank you. There's power in everyone's message. And I just want that, to resonate. There's power in your story because you just don't know who you could be impacting. So please feel free to let go, to let it out, and to share because you just never know who you might be helping. So thank you for this space. Thank you for trusting us. And yes, we're about to close because we had planned to do this for only 90 minutes. We've run over just by a few minutes, but it was a great session. I thoroughly learnt. I've learnt from Olu and Jeezy, Funke, Z that was here before, Chio, he, JC, and Roslyn, and Faye as well. So thank you so much for trusting us, and we hope that you'll join us next time. Our next session, which is celebrating the achievements of women on actual IWD, International Women's Day, on March the 8th. I think it's scheduled for 9 p.m. GMT time and 10 p.m. WAT time. Not sure what time it is in CST or in American times. But yes, please do connect with us. And thank you so much for this space. I'm going to pass it over to Toba so that he can close the session. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Bukki. Thank you, Yvonne. And thank you to all you amazing.
You have to speak up, Toba, because we can't really hear you.
Oh, sorry about that. Is this better?
It's much better now. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much to everyone who's come on stage. I really, really do appreciate it. I have to say, especially after hearing Faye's story, I wanted to. This is probably the reason why this is happening, and Yvonne and Bukki can testify to this. I've been doubting doing this room and the series of rooms that we have planned. I really was thinking, why should a man? I've got a podcast, but why should a man host this kind of a space for women, right? And in the moment that Faye spoke, I totally understood it. It is not just because I want to celebrate women. It is not just because I want to provide a space for women to speak or for us to listen. I just realized that we all have a role, we all have a purpose. And just 5 minutes ago or whatever, I just realized mine. And that is to provide this space. It's not for me to do anything else. It's nothing other than to provide a space for this kind of a forum for healing, for discussion. And I'm only saying this, and I've got a lot of friends in the audience and on stage as well. And I'm going to say this because I think Faye has set the bar here. I am also a suicide survivor. I also attempted suicide some years back, and I've never told this to a lot of people. But I'm glad that I'm here today, because every day is a struggle, but the thing is also every day is a survival, right? So I just want to say thank you to every one of you women who shared your stories, who gave us some advice. And I'm glad I'm actually doing this, and it's given me more confidence to actually carry on doing the series of rooms that we've got planned. So thank you very much. And as Bukki said, the next room should be on March the 8th, which we shall, Monday, March the 8th, that's right. And we shall be advertising that. Please follow myself, the Renaissance Lady, and Bukki as well, AB. And we shall be closing the room soon. But thank you very much again to everybody. Please connect with people you've heard on stage as well. They're wonderful women, especially curated to provide the information. Olu, Ngozi, Funke, Chiohi, JC, Rosaline, and Faye, and my lovely sister Z as well. Thank you very much for coming on stage. You've really honored me, and it's been an honor listening to all you women. Bukki.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It's been refreshing. It's been great. Please look to your left, look to your right, tap to the pictures, check out the bios, find out if there are people that you want to follow, and feel free to follow. Let's connect. Always, we're in Clubhouse to connect and build that relationship, build a community. So please, let's utilize it. Let's not waste it. So thank you for this space. We'll be closing this room in the next 60 seconds. Thank you all so much. And please do look out for our future rooms, which involves celebrating women, because we choose to challenge the normalcy. We choose to challenge for equality. We choose to challenge to encourage one another and to support one another. So thank you all so much. Thank you.
Take care and God bless everybody.
Take care, everybody.
Thank you. And we'll be closing the room. We'll be
Bye,
closing
everyone.
the room in
Thank you.
5, 4,
you.
3,
3,
2, 1. God bless.
Bye.
Bye.